Goodnight was originally from Germany. His grandfather and his grandfather's brother came over at a time when political unrest was what had caused it. They were supporting the wrong group. His name is interesting. It's not Goodnight. It's the good night, separate word. He was not actually a knight or his family, but they were part of the family. I don't exactly understand the social bit, strata there at that time in Germany, but because of his service to the king, the main person of the family, and I don't know what to call him, was named the Good Knight with a capital G and a capital K, N-I-G-H-T. And this was the original name, changed to simply Goodnight over here. And both of the men were killed by Indians, I understand. They migrated west ahead of the main group and met with that fate. Goodnight himself came from Illinois, bareback on an old horse, and his mother had several children to raise, and he was one of the older ones, no father, and he took on responsibility at a very early age. One thing that I read about him was by the time he was 40, he had already lived a life that few men do. He was involved down around Waco with freighting, breaking horses, all sorts of things like that, and helping his mom with family and so on. Why, I don't think he was much more in his mid-20s when he decided to that there was money to be made in taking cattle up to the railhead, and he went on this first cattle drive. He had had short ones that nothing major working with cattle, but when he decided to make this first long drive, and I can't tell you exactly from where to where, we'd have to look that up, he decided that he needed a wagon for the cowboys to gather around in the evening. At that time, and I think this is a very interesting part of his life, Goodnight wanted to take that herd safely north, and he just wanted a different outfit than that, and he decided on a wagon. I think he used Bodart wood. He had repaired a lot of wagons, and he wanted one that would stand the trail drive. He used the iron wheel for the spokes rather than the common wood that had been used, and put together this wagon, got a cook where the men could have their bedrolls in the wagon, didn't have to bother with that during the day, and could gather around the wagon at night and eat a hot meal. It was a home on the trail for the men, and they said when he got it all finished, as a finishing touch, he remembered his mother's jar of bread, the yeast rising on the back of the stove, and that was very much a part of his home, and he added that. Hence we have the sourdough biscuits and the chuck wagon that we see in so many Western movies and are in the storybooks about the West. It all started with Goodnight's first main trail north. Oliver Loving was his partner on this, and this trail became known as the Goodnight Loving Trail. He made lots of money on these cattle drives. It was a profitable venture. It was well run, well planned. It was said of him that he didn't get lost. He had a sense of direction, which is one reason probably he was successful on these cattle drives. But there's the story of one time when he was coming back with this money. He had a mule, and on the mule He had the food and the money, and the only trouble with a lot of mules, if there were Indians nearby, they went berserk. And he was traveling with 2 young men and the mule with everything they had on it, and the Indians started chasing them. And he said across the prairie we were running for our lives, and that mule was outdistancing all of us, losing everything on the way. And he said that at that time I realized that the water we lost and the food we lost, the money we held on to, the money really wasn't important. Us getting out of there alive, and it would have been nice to have had some food and water to take with us, was far more important than any money. And he said from that time on he had a less of a desire that he had to make money. What little good that money was going to do him in the next few minutes. Anyway, he went into the cattle business in a big way up around Pueblo, and had a ranch, lost everything in the Depression of 87 or 88, when everything was close to the Depression of the 20s, though not quite as bad. And then he began to look for another place, and found the Panhandle of Texas, and that's when he came here to venture into the cattle business. So you have a man from Waco up through Texas, up into Colorado, and then back down to the Panhandle. I presume he had been through here and decided to take a good look at it. He saw the Paladura, and that's what decided him on the possibility of water and grass, winter protection. Good place for a cattle ranch.